everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lena Saleh, the Edtech Guru, where we explore all things Edtech and education related. All right, let's do this. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the call to action for industry. So during this time, we know that there has been quite a lot of inequitability across districts and states, and really a lot of students who are poverty stricken really are not able to do remote learning as we would expect. So my call to action is for actually what Google should be doing to jump on this unique opportunity. Over the last probably 10 or so years, we've started to see a rise in educational resources, edtech resources like Google and Microsoft and Apple, and we've also seen a rise and fall of those. Apple used to be the number one device that was used in school systems, but we know now when walking through a school site, you'll be hard pressed to actually find an Apple device. Two things kind of come into play with that, and that's that Apple device is a little bit more challenging to maintain and fix, and there weren't a lot of people coming out that actually knew how to fix and maintain the devices. And then you also started to see that they were a little bit too pricey for the price range for schools to upgrade over time. So a lot of schools started making the switch to PCs and laptops, and now what we see mostly in school sites, or what schools are deciding to purchase unless they are a CTE program, is, and if you don't know what CTE is career technical education. So usually those types of trades like computer science, culinary, automotive, those types of things are CTE. What we start to see is that there used to be a huge amount of users using iPads. However, iPads are very difficult to maintain because they run off of the cloud system, and a lot of times students have a workaround of being able to access the free apps, and once they do, then the free apps are installed on every single device, and it's really hard to wipe them clean. So just the management of it is really tough, and then a lot of things are not actually available on Apple previous to when they were doing Flash. Now they have workarounds for the Flash, and it no longer requires Flash for some of their newer devices, but really iPads are a little bit pricier than actually Chromebooks are themselves. I recently was just inquiring about how much it actually would be to purchase a Chromebook in bulk, and to purchase a Chromebook is about $125 or so. What I'm recommending is that CEOs, for example Google, should really go ahead and issue devices to every single student. This is going to give them a leg up for a couple of reasons. To actually use the enterprise version of either Microsoft or Google, there is actually a price associated with it. There are certain schools that are much smaller that are able to get away with the freer version of the educational apps that are offered. But for a larger districts, they do have an educational enterprise, and there is a cost per student for that. And that's for the increased safety, the device management, and just certain precautions that need to be taken into account. And that's also to cover the COPA certification. And if you don't know what COPA is, or FERPA, I'll list those below, but those are just the protections for both families and for students' privacy issues. So those are just things that we have to kind of consider when moving forward. In association with that, that means that in order to use a Google product, you need to have a Google suite of education. So by issuing these devices, it actually ensures a win for Google for Education, because now teachers are going to be using the products, and they're going to have to use the products in order to use the devices, because we know that Chromebooks just run smoother using Google products, and you can't use Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, but you can use those other resources to kind of thrive in that setting. Once you do that, then you start having certification levels, right? The Google certification, that is actually a fee to take the Google certification. I have been noticing in some Facebook groups, some districts are actually requiring their teachers to have a certification, so that means that they actually have to be tested. To be a computer type teacher, they actually have to have the certification. So that's just something to keep in mind. So actually Google will actually end up winning out of the deal, and then what will actually happen is that students will actually have devices. So how happy are students going to be to have devices? And that's just going to push them ahead of the game. And Google has been ahead of the game for quite some time with the ease and ability of their apps. Google Classroom is pretty user friendly. You have a lot of capabilities, and because of its ease of use, there's actually a higher usage rate of it, and they've actually been ahead in the educational market for quite some time with the CS First that they offer, and just different programs that they continue to release on their educational side of things. I know a lot of districts are also interested in Microsoft products, but Microsoft is a little bit more expensive to purchase and to actually issue. So if Google were to actually issue devices, at the cost that it costs them, it really would cost next to nothing for them to actually issue these devices out to students that don't actually have that. I know IBM is continuing to do that in places like Richmond in California, but Google would actually have a leg up because it actually costs next to nothing for them to actually issue those devices, but it would actually be a leg up for them over time. Microsoft can also do the same thing. However, their devices, like I mentioned, are just a little bit more expensive to purchase. As we know, a Surface is much more expensive to purchase than a Chromebook because it has a lot more capabilities and can have a lot more programs that it runs, like Photoshop and just different things that you can actually run on the device itself that you can on a Chromebook. But for the sake of remote learning, you actually don't really need to have all of those capabilities for students. A lot of students don't even know how to work them. It would just create a greater consistency amongst the United States. My call for Google is that you need to issue devices to students. It's actually going to be a big win for you. I would recommend that people need to partner with Google because not only is the issue of device equality, but there's also an issue of Wi-Fi for students at home. A lot of students don't have Wi-Fi, although there are opportunities for low-income families to get subsidized resources for Wi-Fi. It's just important that we also offer this across the district. There are some really great companies that are actually doing this and setting up hotspots across the country. And obviously, in my personal opinion, I wish that Elon Musk would actually partner with Google. He would provide the internet and Wi-Fi for the communities, and then Google would actually issue the devices. Teachers love it, so why not go ahead and do that in the long run? It's actually going to be a win for everybody aside, and we know that overall the United States education system is lacking behind many of the other world leaders, and that's because we don't prop up our education system in the same way that they do in other countries. So this is a time for us to actually shine and thrive more in a way than we ever have. Google, if you're listening, let's issue those devices and get students ready for this online remote learning ahead of us. Once again, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. My name is Lena Saleh, the EdTech Guru. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.